Data for statistical research is usually collected from two different sources: observational studies and experiments. In an observational study, we observe and measure specific characteristics, but we do not modify the subjects being studied. Now, observation can mean we're actually watching some action in real time and recording results. For example, you may be observing cars arriving at a fast food window, and so you're actually standing there and observing and recording things. Or observation could mean that you're actually pulling data, for example, surgical files from a hospital because you want to record specific information about specific surgeries at that hospital in the past year. So you're not actually observing anything other than you're just getting the data. But you're not applying any treatment to the data, you're not modifying it, you're just collecting the data as it is. In an experiment, we do apply some treatment and then observe the effects on the subject. So an example of that might be in the medical field. One way they do that in the medical field is as a before and after type study, where perhaps they're interested in the efficacy of a particular medication. So what they'll do is observe patients prior to taking a particular medicine, record their medical condition, whatever the specific thing they're looking at, whether blood pressure or something like that, and then have those same subjects take the medication. So there's the treatment. We apply the treatment, and after some period of time, recording then those same conditions to see if there is any change and what that change might be. So that would be a before and after type thing where all the subjects involved receive the treatment. Another type of experiment would be one in which you have a treatment group and a control group. So again, in the medical field, perhaps you would have patients who do receive the medication and some who do not, and then over a period of time you study how their medical conditions and parameters and determine whether or not something, the medicine is doing what you wanted it to do. Or physical therapy, did it help people get better, and these people did not receive the physical therapy, they all had the same injury, something like that. So that's where you have a treatment group and a control group. But both of those types of studies, and there are others that would be considered an experiment, but they apply some treatment and then you measure results. So there the researcher is actually getting involved in the outcome by applying a treatment. In the observational study, that's exactly what it means. We're just observing and recording results. Okay, so let's look at more examples of these two types of data sources. In 1982, a study of lead absorption in children of employees in a lead-related industry was reported in the American Journal of Epidemiology. In this study, the researchers asked whether children were harmed by lead brought home in the clothes and hair of parents who were exposed to lead at work. They matched 33 children whose parents worked in a battery factory with 33 unexposed children of the same age, and these children were also from the same neighborhood. And they compared the level of lead found in the children's blood with the control group, the children who were not exposed. And what they found was that the exposed children did have elevated levels of lead in their blood. So this was an observational study. They didn't apply any treatment. They did have a control group in order to determine whether or not there was a difference, but they did not apply any kind of treatment to the children. Okay, let's look at an example of an experiment. Researchers at Harvard Medical School conducted a study to determine if there is a relationship between hunger and learning ability. Their results were published in 1998 in the Journal of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychology. So the study followed 133 students before and after the start of a universally free school breakfast program. So this is one of those before and after type experiments where they took measurements on the children's learning and behaviors at school prior to the start of this program. The treatment then was the school breakfast program. And before the program, only about a third of the students were taking advantage of the school breakfast, and after they implemented this free breakfast program, nearly 2/3 of the students were taking advantage of that. And so what they found was that students who increased their school breakfast program participation showed significantly larger gains in math grades, decreased rates of tardiness, absence, and hyperactivity, as well as decreased depression and anxiety than the students whose participation in the breakfast program did not increase. So this one is an example of a treatment where they measured the same students before and after to determine whether or not the treatment had any effect. So again, looking at the two sources of data. In an observational study, we just observe, we do not apply any treatment. And in an experiment, some treatment is applied, and then we observe the effects.